It all started on a regular Tuesday morning, or at least, it looked like a regular Tuesday. The bell rang. Backpacks shuffled through the hallways. Teenagers moved like zombies half awake, eyes glued to their phones, or whispering the latest gossip. The cafeteria smelled like stale cinnamon rolls and burnt tater tots. It was just another school day at Jefferson High, or so it seemed. But for Brittany, it wasn't just any Tuesday. Today, she had her eyes on a new target. Brittany was the self-proclaimed queen of Jefferson High. She didn't walk through the hallways. She owned them. Her squad of followers trailed behind her like shadows, laughing at every insult she dropped, backing her up in every drama she stirred. To everyone else, she was untouchable. The kind of girl who didn't just bully, she performed it. She humiliated people like it was her hobby. If she caught a stutter in your voice, a stain on your shirt, or a moment of hesitation, you were done. Her favorite game was to pick the quietest, kindest-looking students and break them down for sport. And that's when she saw Asha. Alone. New. Silent. A perfect storm for Brittany's ego. Asha had transferred in just 2 weeks ago, and from the moment she stepped into Jefferson High, she didn't say much to anyone. Her hair was always tied back, hoodie pulled up, earbuds in. She kept to herself like a shadow, drifting from class to class without drawing attention. And that's exactly why Brittany noticed her. She didn't need to know Asha's name to label her. Easy target. She's giving shy little church girl vibes, Brittany whispered to her friends, loud enough for everyone around to hear. Probably cries when you look at her too hard. They laughed on cue. Asha, passing by, said nothing. She didn't even glance their way. And to Brittany, that was an open invitation to go further. Later that morning, it happened. Asha was at her locker, head down, quietly switching out her books. Her hands moved quickly, smooth, calm, focused. She barely noticed Brittany walking up with her iced coffee, laughing obnoxiously with her crew, until splash. A full cup of caramel swirl with whipped cream accidentally flew across Asha's hoodie. Oops, Brittany said with a fake gasp, covering her mouth. I'm so clumsy. Her friends burst out laughing. Asha looked down at her soaked hoodie. Sticky, cold, ruined. She blinked, took a deep breath, then looked up slowly, and locked eyes with Brittany for the first time. That stare. It wasn't angry. It wasn't scared. It wasn't even surprised. It was calculated, steady, silent. Brittany flinched for half a second. Just a flicker, but then quickly rolled her eyes and flipped her hair. Oh, don't be dramatic. It's just a hoodie. You can get another one at wherever you people shop. Another round of giggles. Still, Asha said nothing. She calmly zipped up her bag, closed her locker, and walked away. Not one word, not one reaction. To everyone watching, it looked like Brittany had won again. But what they didn't realize, what Brittany failed to see, was that Asha had grown up fighting bigger battles than some hallway mean girl. See, before Jefferson High, Asha lived in the heart of Detroit, raised by her grandmother, a retired Army drill instructor who believed in two things, discipline and strength. While other kids were learning to ride bikes, Asha was learning how to throw a punch. Her weekends? Spent training in martial arts gyms, sparring with fighters twice her size. Her evenings? Running laps, jumping rope, working out until her knuckles were raw and her muscles burned. She didn't talk much, because she didn't need to. Her silence wasn't weakness. It was a weapon. So when Brittany dumped that drink on her, all Asha saw was a girl too loud to notice how much danger she'd just stepped into. And the craziest part? Asha wasn't even angry. She was patient, because some storms don't strike right away. They build slowly, quietly, and when they finally hit, they change everything. And that's where Brittany made her first and biggest mistake. She picked on the wrong girl. She thought she was poking at someone weak, someone harmless. But what she really did was poke a sleeping lion. And that lion was about to wake up. Asha wasn't just some shy girl from out of town. She was a storm hiding in silence. To most people at Jefferson High, she looked like just another transfer student, quiet, reserved, the kind of girl who kept her hoodie up and her eyes down. She didn't chase attention, didn't try to fit in, didn't care about popularity points. But what nobody at that school knew was this. Asha wasn't afraid of anyone. She simply chose to be silent, because behind that quiet stare was a girl who had been trained for war. Not metaphorical war, but real, gritty, no room for weakness training. Her calm wasn't submission, it was control. Before she came to Jefferson, Asha lived on the east side of Detroit, in a neighborhood where you had to be tough just to walk to the corner store. Her parents weren't around much. Her mom worked 2 jobs, and her dad had disappeared long ago. So Asha was raised by the one person who could handle anything, her grandmother, Miss Thelma. Miss Thelma wasn't a sweet cookie-baking kind of grandma. She was a retired Army drill sergeant. Her voice could silence an entire block. Her stare could freeze a grown man in place. And her rules? Strict as steel. In that house, there was no such thing as sleeping in. While other kids were watching cartoons on Saturday morning, Asha was lacing up her sneakers for a 5-mile run. While other kids played with dolls, she was shadowboxing in the garage, sweat dripping, gloves pounding into a heavy bag that swung from a chain like a wrecking ball. "Life's gonna come at you hard, baby," Miss Thelma used to say, wrapping Asha's hands with athletic tape. "You don't meet force with fear. You meet it with precision." And she meant it. From the time Asha was 6 years old, her weekends were booked solid with training. Taekwondo on Saturdays, boxing drills on Sundays, Muay Thai during the week. She knew how to throw a hook, break out of a choke hold, and how to read an opponent before they even made their first move. But her grandmother didn't just teach her how to fight physically. She taught her mental strength. "A fighter who can't control her emotions," she'd say, "is just a walking target." So Asha learned to breathe through anger, to walk away from disrespect, to keep her power tucked away, quiet but never forgotten. She wasn't raised to start fights. She was raised to end them. When she moved to Jefferson, it was supposed to be a fresh start. Her mom had finally saved enough money to move out of the city and get a job closer to home. New town, new school, new chance to just live, without having to defend herself at every turn. So Asha told herself, stay quiet, lay low, let this place be different. But some things never change. Bullies are everywhere, just in different packaging. And at Jefferson High, that packaging came in the form of Brittany. Rich, loud, and used to getting her way. A schoolyard tyrant with a social media following and a venomous sense of humor. She wasn't used to people standing up to her. Most were too scared of being her next post or her next punchline. When Brittany first saw Asha, she saw what she wanted to see. Someone weak. Someone she could push around. Another name to add to her list of victims. And when she accidentally spilled her iced coffee on Asha's new hoodie, she did it with confidence, like she was invincible. She laughed loud enough for the whole hallway to hear, flipping her hair and throwing in a sarcastic, "Oops." Everyone watched for Asha's reaction, but she didn't flinch. She didn't shout, didn't cry, didn't even wipe off the mess. She just looked at Brittany, just for a moment, with eyes that didn't scream pain or fear. Just calculation. Calm. Deadly calm. A few kids chuckled, assuming Asha was too scared to respond. They thought it was over. They thought Brittany had won again. But what they didn't understand was that Asha was trained to wait. Because fighting isn't just about fists, it's about timing. Knowing when to strike is just as important as knowing how. And right now, this wasn't the time. But the time was coming. Asha turned and walked away. Not because she couldn't fight, but because Brittany wasn't worth a reaction. Not yet. Back in the locker room that day, Asha peeled off her soaked hoodie and stared at the sticky mess. Then she did something strange. She smiled, because it had been a long time since she'd needed to use what her grandma taught her. But now it looked like all that training was about to come in handy. And deep down, part of her welcomed it. Because while Jefferson High might have been new to her, the fight was home. Brittany couldn't leave it alone. It wasn't enough that she embarrassed Asha once. No, she had to keep going. It was like Asha's silence offended her. Like not reacting was some kind of challenge to her ego. "She's scared of me," Brittany sneered in the hallway. "That girl's soft. Quiet types always fold." She said it loud enough for everyone to hear, again and again. Every hallway. Every class. She made Asha the latest episode in her never-ending drama show. Her followers followed suit. Whispers, giggles, side eyes. They called Asha mute, coward, and church mouse. And Brittany? She kept pushing. At lunch, she shoved her tray into Asha's, spilling fruit and mashed potatoes onto her lap. In the halls, she accidentally stuck her foot out as Asha walked by, sending her stumbling forward. Once, she even grabbed Asha's completed homework, ripped it in half right in front of her, and tossed it into the trash with a smirk. "What are you gonna do? Cry?" she taunted, waiting for a reaction. But Asha just looked at her, calm, unshaken, then turned and walked away. To Brittany, it was proof that Asha was weak, but she couldn't have been more wrong, because Asha's silence wasn't fear. It was strategy. She wasn't ignoring Brittany because she couldn't fight. She was watching, studying, letting Brittany build her own tower of arrogance, one cruel act at a time, so it would come crashing down that much harder. Asha knew something Brittany didn't. A storm doesn't make noise when it's forming, but when it hits, you feel everything. And that storm, it was almost ready. Each insult, each shove, each test, Asha took it in like quiet fuel. She could feel the heat rising behind her eyes some days, her fists clenching under the desk when Brittany tried her. But she breathed through it, remembered what her grandmother taught her. Pick your moment, make it count, finish it clean. And when the moment finally came, Brittany wouldn't see it coming. She'd be too busy laughing, too busy performing, too busy underestimating the girl she thought would never fight back. But soon, she'd learn. You don't poke the storm and expect sunshine. Friday afternoon, gym class. The air inside the gym was thick with sweat, noise, and the smell of old sneakers. Everyone looked exhausted. It had been a long week, and all the students wanted was to make it through class and head home. But not Brittany. Brittany wasn't tired. She was hungry for another opportunity to humiliate Asha. The coach stood at the front, clipboard in hand, blowing his whistle with that dry, bored tone. "All right, people. Pair up. Sparring drills today. Light contact. Control your hits." Groans echoed across the room. No one liked sparring on a Friday. Then came Brittany's voice, smug, loud, dripping with fake sweetness. "You and me," she said, turning to Asha with that wicked grin. "Let's see if the new girl can actually fight." A few people chuckled. Someone muttered, "This is going to be good." Even the coach paused for a second. His eyes flicked between the two girls, Brittany, the loudmouth with a reputation, and Asha, the silent mystery. But he didn't say a word. He just shrugged and blew his whistle. The room slowly shifted to make space. People gathered to watch. Brittany bounced a little on her toes, fists up like she was in some kind of boxing movie. "Don't cry if I mess up your face, okay?" she laughed. Asha, she didn't say a word. She stepped onto the mat calmly, pulling her hoodie off to reveal a plain black tank top. Her shoulders were lean but solid. Her arms looked like they knew work, like they'd spent years doing more than just carrying books. She nodded once, and then it began. At first, Brittany moved like she always did, cocky, sloppy, all bark. She threw a lazy jab toward Asha's shoulder, laughing mid-punch. "Oops, too fast for ya." Asha dodged it like she'd seen it coming 5 minutes ago. No reaction, no smile, just eyes locked on Brittany's movements. Then came another swing, faster this time. Brittany stepped in with a fake punch, trying to catch Asha off guard with a follow-up. She missed both. Asha didn't move much. Just enough to avoid getting touched. Her feet were light, her stance low, her breathing steady. People started to notice. "Wait, is she trained?" someone whispered. Coach leaned in slightly, curious now. Brittany, annoyed, rushed in harder. "Stop moving, coward." She swung again, wild, frustrated. That was the moment Asha struck. Snap! In one clean move, she caught Brittany's wrist mid-swing, spun behind her, and swept her legs with a flawless takedown that left Brittany flat on her back hard. The gym went silent. No one laughed. No one cheered. Even the air felt frozen. Asha stood over her, calm as ever. She didn't smirk. She didn't celebrate. She simply stepped back, offered her hand to help Brittany up, like a true fighter would, and waited. Brittany blinked, stunned, her mouth open to speak, but no words came out. Her face was red, not from the fall, but from shock. She took the hand, slowly, silently, and the moment their hands touched, Brittany knew. She hadn't just lost a spar. She had lost control. Because in that one moment, everyone saw it. Asha wasn't soft. She wasn't scared. She was a warrior who had been patient long enough. And Brittany? She had finally run out of time. The moment the whistle blew, Brittany charged like she always did, loud, reckless, overconfident. She sprinted across the mat like she was in some kind of fight montage, yelling as she swung a wild right hook straight at Asha's face. But Asha didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. Slide. She stepped to the side, calm, smooth, surgical. Pop. A sharp jab snapped into Brittany's shoulder. Pop, pop. 2 quick strikes, one to the ribs, one to the other shoulder, so fast and clean that Brittany didn't even know she'd been hit until her body jerked back. The sound of contact echoed through the gym. That thud of glove meeting body. Brittany stumbled. Gasps erupted from the crowd. She swung back, red-faced and angry, trying to throw everything she had in one desperate punch. But Asha was already gone, ducked, slid, pivoted to the side like water slipping past a stone. Then came the moment no one forgot. Asha stepped in close, got low, and with one fluid motion boom, she swept Brittany's legs out from under her with perfect form. Brittany flipped back and hit the mat hard, not injured, but completely shocked. The gym went silent. Even the coach, who had seen years of gym fights, stood frozen with his whistle halfway to his lips. Everyone had been expecting a mess, a catfight, maybe a few sloppy hits. But what they got was something else entirely. This wasn't random chaos. This was a masterclass. Asha didn't just fight. She executed. She hadn't said a word since stepping on the mat. But her fists, her movement, her presence, they spoke louder than Brittany's voice ever had. Now Brittany lay there, gasping, not hurt, but humiliated, flat on her back, eyes wide, trying to catch her breath. Her ponytail was out of place, her pride shattered. All around her, whispers turned into laughter. Someone whispered, "Dang, she got dropped." Another said, "I didn't even see her move." And for the first time in forever, Brittany was the one being laughed at. Her throne? Gone. Her power? Shaken. Because Asha, the quiet girl in the hoodie, the one everyone ignored, had just reminded the entire school that silence doesn't mean weakness. And Brittany? She had just been exposed. Asha didn't gloat. She didn't mock or taunt or strut around the gym like a champion. She simply stood over Brittany, extended a hand, and looked her straight in the eyes. Her voice was soft, calm, controlled, but every word landed like thunder. "I don't fight to prove anything, but I don't lose either." It wasn't a threat. It wasn't even pride. It was just truth. The kind of truth that makes a bully shut up for good. Coach finally blew the whistle, clearing his throat awkwardly. All right, that's enough. Sparring's done. Good control, girls." But everyone knew what had just happened. This wasn't just sparring. This was balance restored. As Asha walked back to the locker room, heads turned, whispers shifted. This time, they weren't laughing at her. They were watching her, with respect, with curiosity, and maybe even a little fear. And Brittany? She didn't say a word. She sat on the edge of the mat, eyes low, breathing shallow. Her whole face said what her mouth couldn't. She messed with the wrong girl. By the time the final bell rang that Friday, the story had already gone viral, not online, but across every hallway, locker row, and friend group at Jefferson High. Word spread like wildfire. Phones buzzed nonstop. Screens lit up with messages, blurry videos, and jaw-dropped emojis. "Did you see what Asha did in gym?" She folded Brittany like a lawn chair. "That quiet girl is a straight-up ninja." Brittany didn't land a single hit. Not one. Asha equals legend. By the time Asha got home, her name was already trending on every group chat at school. Memes started popping up. Edits of Asha dodging Brittany's wild punches like she was in the Matrix. Her hoodie became iconic. Someone even changed their profile pic to a shot of her mid-sweep, Brittany mid-air. And Asha, she just sat at the kitchen table with her grandmother, eating dinner like it was any other night. Rough day, her grandma asked with a smirk. Asha shrugged. Handled it. Her grandma chuckled. Proud of you. Not for the fight, but for waiting for the right moment. Monday morning. The school felt different. There was an energy in the air, like everyone was waiting for something. But Brittany? She didn't show up. Not Monday. Not Tuesday either. When she finally did return on Wednesday, the difference was clear. Gone was the swagger. Gone was the loud voice, the cruel jokes, the entourage. She walked the halls quietly, head down, earbuds in. No eye contact. No smirks. Just someone trying not to be seen. And when she passed Asha in the hallway, nothing. No snide remark. No shoulder bump. Not even a glance. Just a wide arc to avoid her. The kind of space someone gives a fire they know they can't control. There were no fake apologies. No angry revenge plans. No weak attempts to save face. Just silence. Because even a bully knows when they've been outmatched. Asha didn't boast. She didn't bring it up or hold it over anyone's head. She just went back to her regular routine. Hoodie up, headphones in, eyes forward. But everything had changed. Now, when she walked into a room, people noticed. Some nodded. Some looked away nervously. But most, they stared with a kind of quiet respect. Not fear. Respect. Because Asha didn't become popular. She became known. Known as the girl who didn't back down. The girl who didn't need a crowd, or a comeback, or clout. Just skill, control, and timing. In gym class the next week, coach pulled her aside. You've had training, he said, nodding toward the mats. Yes, sir, she replied. He smiled. It shows. Ever thought about joining the girls' martial arts team? Asha paused for a second, then nodded. Yeah, I think I'm ready. Later that day, as Asha headed home, she passed a group of underclassmen standing by the lockers. One of them had just dropped her books, and another girl, one of Brittany's old sidekicks, was laughing at her. Asha didn't say a word. She just looked. And in that look, something shifted. The laughter stopped. The teasing girl blinked, mumbled something, and walked away. The underclassman picked up her books, wide-eyed. She looked at Asha like she'd just been saved by a superhero. Thanks, she whispered. Asha just nodded and kept walking, because legends don't need to speak. They just move. Asha never asked for attention. She didn't want the spotlight. She didn't care about going viral. She didn't want to be feared, worshipped, or turned into some kind of myth. All she ever wanted, from the moment she stepped into Jefferson High, was peace. And after that day in the gym, that's exactly what she got. But it didn't come in the way most people would expect. It started small. On Monday, people made space for her in the halls. Not out of fear, but respect. The way someone steps aside for a lion, walking calmly through the grass. In the lunchroom, students who used to glance right past her suddenly noticed her. Some tried to sit near her. One girl asked shyly, "Hey, is this seat taken?" Asha looked up from her sandwich and just nodded. The girl sat down quietly, not even trying to make conversation, just grateful to be near her. At first, it was weird. Then it became normal. Even the teachers started to notice. Mr. Harlan, her English teacher, pulled her aside after class. "I heard about what happened," he said, lowering his voice like it was a secret. "You handled yourself with maturity. That takes more than skill. That takes character." She nodded politely, not sure what to say. But he smiled, like he'd been waiting to see this side of her all along. Then Coach called her into his office one afternoon. "Look," he said, "I've seen a lot of kids talk tough. But what you did, that was control. That was discipline. You didn't humiliate her. You humbled her." He leaned back in his chair, tapping a clipboard. "You ever consider joining the school's martial arts team? We compete statewide. You've got the foundation. All you need is focus and drive. And from what I've seen, you've got both." Asha hesitated. "I don't know," she said. "I wasn't trying to prove anything." Coach nodded. "You didn't. That's what impressed me. You walked away with dignity. That's rare." He didn't push her. He just handed her a sign-up sheet and said, "If you're ready, I'd be proud to have you." But through it all, the hallway whispers, the lunchroom stares, the unexpected praise, Asha stayed the same. She still wore her hoodie up, still walked with her headphones in, still kept to herself. But now, she walked with her head high, not because she thought she was better than anyone, not because she was chasing attention, but because she had nothing left to prove. The days of being underestimated were over. She didn't need to talk louder, dress flashier, or change who she was to earn respect. She just had to be herself, the version her grandmother had raised. Strong, calm, and never looking for a fight, but always ready if one came her way. Something deeper had changed too, not just in how people saw her, but in how they saw themselves. Some students started standing up a little straighter. The usual targets of bullying, the quiet ones, the overlooked, the new kids, started walking with a little more confidence. It was like Asha had shattered a rule no one ever questioned before. That bullies always win. That silence means weakness. That you had to be loud to be powerful. Asha didn't say much about what happened. When people asked her about the fight, she just shook her head and said, "It's over." And for her it was. She didn't chase revenge. She didn't seek out drama. She didn't ride the wave of popularity like Brittany once did. She simply existed, and that was more powerful than anything she could have said. Because real strength doesn't shout. It doesn't brag. It moves through the world quietly and leaves an impact everywhere it goes. The truth is, strength doesn't always shout. It doesn't need to. Real strength can walk silently into a room and change the atmosphere without saying a word. It can take a hit without losing its balance or its dignity. Asha was proof of that. She didn't fight to become popular. She didn't fight because she was angry or because she needed revenge. She didn't fight to prove she was better than Brittany. She fought for one simple reason, to protect her peace. And in doing so, she sent a message loud enough for the entire school to hear. Even though she barely said a word, Asha's message wasn't written in bold letters or posted online. It wasn't shouted from the rooftops. It was felt. In every glance she didn't return. In every rumor she didn't respond to. In the way she chose silence over chaos. Until the moment silence wasn't enough. And even then, even when she swept Brittany to the ground in front of the entire gym, she didn't gloat. She didn't pose. She didn't celebrate. She simply stood tall and said, "I don't fight to prove anything, but I don't lose either." That one sentence echoed louder than any punch ever could. Because what Asha understood, what most people miss, is that real power isn't about dominating others. It's about knowing who you are when nobody's watching. It's about staying grounded when people push you to break. It's about recognizing the moment when silence becomes strength, and when silence needs to become action. Every school has its Brittany. Someone who gets power from making others feel small. Someone who feeds off attention, fear, and fake respect. And every school has its Ashas, too. The ones no one sees coming. The ones people overlook. The ones who keep their heads down and their hearts focused. Until one day they rise. Not because they want to be seen, but because they refuse to be stepped on. Asha's story became more than just school gossip. It became a lesson. Don't mistake kindness for weakness. Don't assume the quiet kid won't stand up. Don't think silence means surrender. Because the girl you mock in the hallway, she might be the one who's been training since she could walk. The one who runs at dawn. The one who spars on weekends. The one who knows how to stay calm while the world tries to shake her. The one who doesn't need to throw a punch to win, but will if you leave her no choice. After everything that happened, some students whispered about Asha like she was some kind of urban legend. But those who really paid attention knew better. She wasn't magic. She wasn't a mystery. She was prepared. And that's what made her powerful. Asha didn't want people to fear her. She just wanted people to respect her space. And more importantly, respect themselves. Because her message wasn't just for Brittany. It was for anyone who ever felt invisible. Anyone who ever bit their tongue to avoid trouble. Anyone who ever walked into a room and hoped not to be noticed. Asha showed them that you can be quiet and still carry the loudest victory. That you don't have to be loud to be strong. You just have to know who you are. And never let anyone take that from you. Let this be a lesson to every bully out there. Just because someone doesn't bark back doesn't mean they won't bite. Bullies like Brittany thrive on silence. The kind that comes from fear, shame, or simply not wanting to make waves. They mistake that silence for submission. They think quiet kids are weak. Easy targets. Easy wins. But Asha showed the world, and every hallway at Jefferson High, that not all silence is surrender. Sometimes it's strategy. Sometimes it's strength gathering itself. Sometimes it's the calm before the storm. That day in the gym didn't just change Brittany. It changed everyone. Students who never spoke up before started walking taller. Girls who used to laugh nervously when Brittany made her cruel jokes, they stopped laughing. Boys who thought it was funny to join in on the teasing suddenly kept their distance. The energy in the school shifted. People started thinking before they spoke, watching how they treated others, because deep down, they realized something important. You never know what someone's been through or what they're capable of. And then there were the ones watching from the sidelines, the kids who had always stayed quiet because they thought they didn't have a voice, the ones who'd been bullied, mocked, ignored, the ones fighting battles at home, at school, or inside their own heads. For them, Asha was more than just a fighter. She was a reminder that you don't have to be loud to be powerful, that you don't need permission to stand tall, that sometimes the most unexpected people carry the deepest strength. To those people, maybe even you, watching this right now, Asha's story speaks louder than fists or words. You are strong, even if you don't feel like it today, even if your voice shakes, even if your knees tremble when you speak, even if no one's seen the battles you've had to fight just to get out of bed in the morning. You are not weak. Maybe your fight isn't with a bully in the hallway. Maybe your battle is with a system that keeps trying to box you in. Maybe it's the pressure to be someone you're not, or the voice in your head telling you you're not good enough, fast enough, strong enough. But just like Asha, you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to strike first to come out strong. What you need is just one moment to stand your ground, one moment to walk away from someone toxic, one moment to raise your hand in class when your voice is shaking, one moment to say, enough. And in that one moment, everything can change. Asha didn't win because she beat Brittany. She won because she never let Brittany change who she was. She kept her dignity, her values, her control. And when the time came, she stood in her truth, not for clout, not for revenge, but for peace. That's real strength. That's the kind of power no one can take from you. So if you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever been pushed around, talked down to, or told you're too quiet, too soft, or too different to matter, remember Asha. She didn't come to Jefferson High looking for war. She came looking for peace. But she didn't back down when peace was threatened. She stood up. She stood tall, and she let her actions speak for her. Let that be your reminder. The quietest voices often carry the loudest victories. And the strongest people? They're not always the ones shouting in the front. Sometimes they're just waiting for the right moment.